We continue reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is. We are the introduction. We are, okay, non-Sanatana religious faith may have some beginning in the annals of human history, but there is no beginning to the history of Sanatan Dharma because it remains eternally with the living entities. So we can see that some religious faith, Christianity, Muslim, Hindu religion, they will have some beginning of it. They will say, oh, this is the time it started. But what is Sanatan Dharma? That there is no history. When did it start? Why? What does Sanatan mean? Sanatan means eternal. What does eternal mean? Eternal means it always exists. There is no particular date when it became. And it means it's going to continue to exist. Not that it won't exist. So so far as the living entities are concerned, the authoritative Shastras state that the living entity has neither birth nor death. So we can't say that, okay, after I give up this body, I'm dead. No, the soul never dies. We, the living entity, we are soul, and we never die. In the Gita, it is stated that the living entity is never born and he never dies. He's eternal and indestructible, and he continues to live after the destruction of his temporary material body. So this body is temporary and it's material, but we, the living entity, we are eternal. We are Satchid Ananda. We are the soul. In reference to the concept of Sanatan Dharma, we must try to understand the concept of religion from the Sanskrit root meaning of the word. Dharma refers to that which is constantly existing with a particular object. We conclude that there is light, heat and light, along with the fire. Without heat and light, there is no meaning to the word fire. Similarly, we must discover the essential part of the living being, that part which is his constant companion. That constant companion is his eternal quality, and that eternal quality is his eternal religion. So dharma, according to Sanskrit, means, the Sanskrit word means the nature of that object. It's always there with that object. It's how that object is. Like fire has heat and light. If fire, always there's heat and light with fire. Without heat and light, there is no meaning to the word fire. It's not that we can say, oh, I have fire without heat or light. We can have different combinations of it, but the heat and light will be there in fire. So similarly, we are the eternal soul. We are eternal soul. So what is that nature of that soul? That is what we have to find out. And that is Sanatan Dharma. That constant companion. What is the quality of the soul? That is, it's not enough to just understand I'm the soul, Aham Brahmasmi. Okay, but what's the quality of the soul? What's the nature of the soul? We have to dive deeper into that knowledge. So when Sanatan Goswami asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the Swarup of every living being, the Lord replied that the Swarup or constitutional position of the living being is the rendering of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Sanatan Goswami, one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, when he met Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself, who came 500 years ago, and it's mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna will come as Lord Chaitanya, and also in a few other Puranas is mentioned that Lord Chaitanya will come in Kali Yuga. And then, so Sanatan Goswami asked him, who am I? Swarup. When we say, who am I? So because we are on the body platform, we'll say, oh, I'm a man or woman, I'm this or that, I'm fat or thin, or I'm, a player or a businessman or a housewife or something, because we are thinking of the body. But Sanatan Goswami is a pure devotee. So he's asking, who am I? He's asking Swarup of the living being. So he's asking the quality of the soul. So, okay, I'm the soul, but who am I? All right, I'm the soul. I understand I'm the soul. But who am I? I have an identity. And then the Lord replied that the constitutional position, what is the constitutional position? Is to rendering of service to the personality of Godhead. If we analyze this statement of Lord Chaitanya's, we can easily see that every living being is constantly engaged in rendering service to another living being. Now we can say, I don't like to render service. Why should I render service to anybody? I'm not anybody's servant. Why should I? A servant means somebody who's exploited, who's manipulated. I don't want anybody to be higher than me, manipulate me, exploit me. But let's analyze. A living being serves other living beings in various capacities. By doing so, the living entity enjoys life. The lower animals serve human beings as servants serve their master. A serves B master, B serves C master, and C serves D master, and so on. Under these circumstances, we can see that one friend serves another friend. The mother serves the son, the wife serves the husband serves the wife, and so on. So we are always serving. We cannot say that, no, I'm not serving anyone. We might be serving our family members, we might be serving our community, our society, our friends, our peers, our mentors, but service is eternal to the soul. We cannot not serve, or ultimately we will serve our senses or serve our false ego. Service we must, because we cannot stop serving. If we go on searching in the spirit, it will be seen that there is no exception in the society of living beings to the activity of service. The politician presents his manifesto for the public to convince them of his capacity for service. So we might say that the president is the highest, the most powerful person. He's not a servant, but he's in fact serving, he's supposed to be serving each and every citizen. That is the reason why he's given that position. So the voters therefore give the politician their valuable votes, thinking that he will render valuable service to society. The shopkeeper serves the customer, and the artisan serves the capitalist. So when we are selling something, we are serving the customer, no? We have a shop, we want the customer to come and buy the things, and we are serving, we are giving him customer service. That's why it's called customer service. And then the artisan serves the capitalist. The capitalist serves the family, and the family serves the state in the terms of the eternal capacity of the eternal living being. In this way, we can see that no living being is exempt from rendering service to other living beings. And therefore, we can safely conclude that service is the constant companion of the living being, and that the rendering of service is the eternal religion of the living being. So does it mean that now that because we are in the body, we have this nature to serve? But we can see that till the time we are in the body, we are serving. And once the soul leaves the body becomes a dead body. So does it mean that the soul will stop to serve anymore? The nature of the soul will change suddenly? No. Wherever the soul will go in the next body, it will continue to serve in that body. It might be in a different body for sure, but the activity of service never stops. So even after we get liberated, the nature of the soul, the service nature of the soul still remains. No matter where we go, whether we are in the material world or spiritual world, or we are in the Brahma Jyoti, the nature of the soul to serve does not change. That is eternally with us. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So, are there any questions or comments?
Yeah.
No.
Yes, please. I'm sorry. Did you have a question, Chandra Devi?
No question. I'm okay.
Yeah, she told you. Okay.
Yeah.
So we can stop here for today. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.